Hi, this is Group 9 with Software Engineering. We're presenting our project Divvy, a mobile application designed to simplify group expense management. It tackles the common challenge of splitting bills fairly, whether among roommates, friends, couples, or temporary groups, by tracking payments and debts and automating expense calculations. My name is Abdul Malik Mohammed.
All right, my name is Summer Hope.
And my name is Min.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to sign up a new user by clicking the sign up button. And you give your user a first name, last name, email address, phone number, and then come up with a password and confirm your password and click the orange sign up button. All right, so you successfully created a Divvy account. So now you have to go to the login page and put in your login credentials, your email, and your new password. Log in. All right, so first thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to create, this is the home page, and you're going to want to create a manage groups. Go to manage groups to create a new expense group. All right, and then you could just like give your group a title. All right, and then you can add associates to your new expense group by searching for them and just click the add or the person's name. You can add however many you would like. Now, after you're done adding them, just click save group. And then you should see your group at the bottom. All right, now go back to the home page. All right, now you're going to want to create an expense for your group. So if you go to the create expense portion, all right, now you click the group that you have. All right, so now you want to create a new expense for like going out to dinner or whatever it's for, and you give your expense the title, the amount of the expense, and you could give it a description if you want to. So last night's feast, and then you have to come up with a way to split the expense. So you could split by percentage, dollar amount, or you could just split it evenly. All right, so we're splitting it evenly. Now create expense. All right. All right, now go to manage expenses at the bottom. Yeah. And then now you can see your new expense that has been created. And currently it's pending because not everybody has accepted it yet. So now you can accept the expense. All right. All right, now your status says accepted. All right, and then you see this right here on this dashboard. You haven't paid for it, but you have accepted your expense portion for $120. And this $120 is out of a $600 bill. And then now, if you want to pay for it, you could go to payment settings. All right. And currently, right now, we don't have this set up, but this is normally what it would look like. It's got the cards that you've added, and then as well as like any payments, any recent payments that you paid towards any other expense. Now, if you go back to the home,
So we actually do have the notification set up. It would just take for us to make another user, and we can go ahead and actually show that functionality right about now. Before we do, I want to go into some of the major UI components on our front end. As you saw before, this card right here that shows our latest expense, it wasn't there before, but if you do click on it, it does take you to the expense that it shows. If we create another expense, it'll also show up that expense. We'll see that once we make another user. Like you said, you can mark it as paid and it'll show up as paid on the front end as well. And it'll, you paid your portion for it. We have here the total amount of all expenses that you are a part of, as well as your contribution towards those expenses. So we've only created one right now, but once we create another one to show the notification functionality, you'll see that your contribution actually increases. Um, I'm going to show the profile settings. So as you see here, it shows the name of the user. This is just an placeholder image for the user to be able to change their image. The email of the user shows up, their phone number, and their password is, of course, hidden for security reasons. Um, that's the major components of our UI. What I'm going to do now is I'll log out. I'll create another test user so that we can we can show what it looks like when you create an expense, what kind of notification the user receives. Uh, I'll just call it test user two. So new user. First, what we'll do is we'll create a group with the previous user that we created. And with this group, what we'll be able to do is we're able to create expense. For the sake of it, we'll also show off being able to split the percentages. And of course, now that expense has shown up, however, of course, since this is the user that created, this user gets no notification for it. But if we go back, log back out, test user, then first you'll see that it's been added to this to the card holder, which shows the user their last 3 expenses, shows them the group of it, shows them the amount, and shows them the date that the expense came through, as well as the status. The total of all of their expenses together has been tallied, and it now shows up here, as well as their contributions since they've been added to an expense. And on top of that, under notification, it's going to let them know you've been added to this expense for $300. And if they want to view that information, they can click here, look at the information. Does have to load. What we'll do is we'll go back so that we can load it properly, but has all this. Take them back, they click on it, take them there. It works out pretty well for that. That's our main UI and our navigation.
Such as some of the technical highlights. Our app uses React Native for the front end. For the back end, we use Node.js and Express, and MySQL for the tables, for the database information storage and like management. Some of the challenges that we face is making the back end work smoothly. We had to like revamp the back end a few times. We also had some trouble making the payment actually works because we don't have it like fully connected by now. So the payment settings doesn't actually pay, but just
Yeah,
yeah,
we
so
had
it's
a
not
couple of issues in general when it came to connecting the front end with the back end. Of course, as we were trying to develop, we had to maintain a specific schema, but of course that schema would change as we went from stage to stage. As we were implementing new features, we realized we actually needed a new table for this, a new table for that, for it all to work properly. At the end of the day, we were able to get most of our functionality together with the schema that we have right now, and using most of the tables that were described in our first database tables. And in the future, we would hope to make it so that users can actually pay through the app. But even that was its own challenge, because having to decide between whether they'll be provided their own card, virtual card through Stripe, or if they should just make payments to the app to each other and connect their bank accounts, because there's, of course, a lot of regulations around that, a lot of regulations about storing credit card information in software. But, we learn, and we would hope to surmount those obstacles in the future.
Okay, so hello, I'm here to show off some of the backend, since that's what I worked on. There's been a lot of features here that we added in order to get this to work. So let's start with our database. So here you can see all of our tables. These are essential to making the app function. Earlier we showed a lot of login, so I can actually show some of these. As you see here, we have our user table. We have our user IDs, our hashes, which are encrypted with 60-character hash code encryption. I'll go in more detail of that later. We store all the info, as mentioned earlier. You probably saw some of these fields show up when we were showing off our front end. I won't go into all of the schemas for every single table because that would take forever. But I will say, we also showed off groups. We use Divvy groups and Divvy group members in order to map a many-to-many relationship between groups and users. The same applies to expenses as well. Temporary groups are created as well for temporary expenses in which we don't have a permanent group set up. And now I'll show off some of the features within our code. So we went on a lot about security. Security was a concern we took very seriously. So as you can see, we implemented HTTPS. All communications are secured through in-house certificates, which you can see over here. This allows for everything encrypted such that no one can snoop in on what messages are sent before. That keeps all password data, all payment information secure. Here's another script showing how we generated these. Now, in addition to that, we use all of the modern security techniques in authentication and whatnot. such as we use bcrypt, which is a very modern hashing algorithm. In this case, it's being used along with Passport.js to compare to. This protects us against timing attacks, which are very common these days and tricky to get right. Here we show off how we generate password hashes in the first place. This is what I mentioned earlier. We generate a salt to avoid dictionary attacks. We use bcrypt hashes as well. This generates a 60-character hash, which is very powerful, hard to break through. So if our database is ever hacked, we're ensured that all password data is completely secure. No one really gets anything from it. I won't go through all this in detail, but we also have here all of our API methods and whatnot. We have this all written out, documented. There's a lot here. Not all of it's been implemented yet, obviously, but most of this has been brought in. So yeah, I'll take it over to Tyus now.
Right. Here in our repositories, we can see how the developmental process looked for the application and how we imported and connected different types of packages using the React and Node JS system for our application. We had different developmental strategies and we use different packages. If you can see here, we have our list in our backend for different packages like bscript, Express, Node, Passport, and even all the way down here, we have Stripe. Each has its own unique use, such as bscript building hash passwords so that we can manage the passwords and have them more secure so that they won't be easily read out through text. We have different things like MySQL sessions so we can build database schemas for new users. And we also have Passport so that we can use the authentication for the new users so that they can have their passwords and users checked. And then here down at the bottom, we have Stripe, where Stripe will allow us to have payment processes and import different payment methods for each user. We can use React and have all of these packages imported at once and then connect them also to our front end, where we have similar packages, but also of different uses, where we have React Native and we have the different types of icon building, front end building, such as the font builders or the status symbols or bars that we can use for our UI. And we also have gesture handlers from React Native so that we can have our users interact with the screen and interact with their page so that they can build the said groups and connect to the backend. And then that's how we can import all of these at once with our install methods and install functions and have our app ported into one safe space.